I'm here to talk about something different. So my background is organizational development. I work in banks and other private sectors, and I moved to Virginia in 2010, followed my wife, and she got a job here, then we followed from Pennsylvania to this place, and I'm originally from Biratnagar in Nepal, but I never lived in Nepal literally. I grew up outside because my parents' job in Darjeeling, in Calcutta, Banaras and Delhi, so I studied in Delhi, but we had a house in Biratnagar. I'm very much identify myself with Biratnagar. We invested some money there. We have invested something now recently in last couple of years in hospital, eye hospital, regular hospital, and a nursing school. And I go often because there's a board meeting or other stuff. So we have a development agency called International Development Institute, founded by my colleague Parshu Nepal in 2007. And I've been involved with that for a long time now. And I do I develop program and implement programs. So our work was mostly focused on in West Africa. But since pandemic, since earthquake, we started saying, why not we work in Nepal? So we started working in Nepal. So right now we work in Nepal, Caribbean islands, and in West Africa. So we have offices in Nigeria and in Kathmandu, and we're opening a new one in Sierra Leone very soon. And I'm waiting for my trip to Sierra Leone. And so what we do, we focus on 4 different areas. One, institutional assessment and capacity building of institutions, private sectors and public sectors both. And capacity building, training, study tours. So we organize study tours to US, to Rwanda, to Singapore, to different countries for different people. And monitoring and evaluation of these organizations on their performance evaluation. And finally, we do lots of business development for people. And we work very closely. So US, so I always tell people that America ko chitta ni thulo, mancheko jiu pani thulo, sabai ta thulo, chitta pani thulo cha. So when you talk about the donors and donor agencies, no one gives Nepal as much money, as much grant, or as much capacity as America does. And I really take pride on it. And if you look at what everybody knows about MCC, but if you just close your eyes, forget about MCC, if you think about it, Nepal got more money than what MCC gave through different agencies in the last 2-3 years. And nobody talking about it, right? But Nepal gets more for agriculture, from education, USAID, and Labor Department. Lots of these agencies are pouring money in Nepal. And they're doing a really good work. But again, what Nepal needs, because we have an author here, among all of us, you are the only author, I will say, legitimate author. And what Nepal needs is a positive narratives of Nepal. So if you open a Facebook, you open a Twitter, you open anything, negative news pops up. Okay, this politician did this, there's a gold issue, there's a this conduct, you conduct. But there are lots of good stories of Nepal which lags, which we don't see. So I think we need lots of positive narrations of Nepal. And then like the whole history. I'm a very good student of history. I always loved history. I never took classes in history, but that's one of my favorite subjects. So history all depends on who writes the history, on the writer. So narratives also depends on who writes it. There's always an intention why we're writing a narrative. So I think Nepal really lacks is a positive narratives. I spent lots of time in Nepal. I remember how long it took us to travel from Biratnagar to Kathmandu. Now I know I can reach in 8 hours of driving. Yeah. I reached not this time, but in 2019, all the way from Biratnagar to Philim, I was there in 7 hours. I walked for that distance for 3 nights. I stayed 3 nights, took me 3 days. I don't see any of those positive narratives coming out from anywhere. Every single, we work very closely with the education department of Nepal. In Nepal, by law, every 2 kilometers has one school. Not many people know about it. Talk about the access to education. Yeah. So those positive narratives are really lacking. But that's not why I came here. And so I'll just share some of the programs we are doing, some of the cool programs and how that program came out. I really love telling about the story of tourism that we're working on. Nepal is known for the tourism. I'll just bring it here so you can hear me louder. So one of the very common friend that some of you know, Mukesh Singh, my friend, Mukesh Singh from Ohio. So Mukesh and I went, that was the last NRN conference I went to ever. And I don't know what's going to happen in the future, but I've been very involved with NRN. I was, not anymore. And 2015 conference, Mukesh and I went. And that was the time during the blockade. So Nepal had blockade, and it was the same time. You could not eat anything anywhere. So the night time, if you are hungry, we'll take our American passport and we'll go to casino. The casino had a free buffet because you couldn't get any hot food in Kathmandu anywhere. And Nepali people can't survive with the cold food. I'm sorry. And so we'll go. So Mukesh and I were sitting, and then I was teaching a management course for ACE College of Management online from here. I do lots of those classes for KU and them. And so I met this one guy online. He's a faculty there, Pankaj Pradhananda. So he teaches tourism management. So he came to meet us at his hotel because there was no gasoline, so you couldn't find taxi. We didn't have access to travel anywhere. So I said, no, I don't have car. So he said, I'll come to visit you. So we're talking about the tourism, how Nepal's tourism works. And I'm not a tourism guy. So when I hear his story, then Mukesh said, Mukesh is MPT, by the way. He has one leg and he wears artificial leg, he wears a limb on the other one. So he said, Pankaj, can I do trekking in Nepal? And Pankaj said, I don't know. I said, let's create some product. We created a very first accessible tourism product for Nepal. And I'm really proud to say that because that is adopted by the government, it is highlighted everywhere when it comes to tourism. So Nepal, so we took 22 veterans, US veterans, plus Mukesh, including Mukesh, 22, and we did Annapurna base camp, all MPT, all the one leg, and we learned that we had one candidate who was little challenged. We learned, I'm not in medical science, we asked how he died that time. He was MPT over the knee, so he had a hard time walking. But under the knee, everyone was faster than me. So now we talk about the positive narratives on that. So when you walk for those 10 days, 11 days, we had 50% women in participation. We had a lady who was a Boston bombing victim. And so we had some celebrity type of veterans. So when they were walking, the women, they were faster than many of us. And as the organizer, I had to stay with the slowest guy at the end, because I want to make sure he's safe. And can you imagine going to any country, walk 11 days, and women walking by themselves, and you don't feel unsafe anywhere? Tell me anywhere, and have you ever heard of those narratives on the past tourism? Second, we gave all our luggage to someone unknown, a porter who's carrying your luggage. I have my laptop there, I have my clothes there, I have my other stuff there, everybody else's. They are walking 2 hours ahead of you. We put our trust on them. Do you know anyone who told you ever they lost a single item? Never. So we need to come out with those kind of narratives. Okay? So we did that. So as a result, Nepal Tourism Board was very reluctant in the beginning, but we got lots of sponsorship. We got sponsorship from Emirates Airlines, we got sponsorship from Radisson Hotel, we got sponsorship from Columbia Gears, and we had sponsorship pouring for this product. Right? And then Nepal government took it seriously, and they said, okay, what can we do next? I said, okay, then let's match the money. So the US government, Nepal government, Australian, Indian, they all matched the money, and we built the very first accessible trekking trail. So when you go next time, try out my trail. We designed 72 kilometers, gave it to Nepal government. We built 3 kilometers long. It is in Kasli Court, which is only 8 kilometers from Saranpur, where people go, all the tourists. So as soon as we built, now the business people, what they did, Karnasake buys a land right at the beginning of the trail. So he knows people are going to come to the trail and he's going to run the hotel there. And now I think that trail route has about 6 hotels right now. They have not expanded, but every single half, I think 2.5 kilometers, we have built an accessible toilet. So now accessibility became our product, my company's product. Then people started talking. I said, the first thing we need to do is build an accessible toilet in the Nepal's international airport. Now when you go, you will see accessible toilets. So she talked about clogged bathroom. Now, if you think about accessible toilet, think about me. And people started with the awareness. So we felt like, we're doing something for my own place. So it has become a new thing. And now we're building another trail, similar trail in Zurich. We did a survey and we found about 2016, we did a survey. We found only Hyatt was the only hotel in entire Nepal which had access room for people who need access. Period. Senior citizens, access, any type of access. Like you have a ramp in Yakin. That ramp was built for luggage, not for the wheelchair. So we started negotiating with the hotels. So right now the number of hotels have increased. They have retrofitted it. So that accessibility really makes me happy. So we have moved from tourism to make education accessible. So we met this wonderful guy, his name is Sagar Prasad. I met him because he came to Harvard through US government exchange program for 3 months. He wrote an article. I read his article in New Republic saying, I have seen more of US than my own country. So I reached out to him. So he was on wheelchair and he was admitted in Pulchok Engineering College, but he couldn't join the Pulchok because all the classes were upstairs. There was no elevator, so who's going to lift him to upstairs? So he had to drop out of Pulchok. And he found some other IT college and he studied just the basic IT. But he's very known, he's a good author, he's an IT engineer, he runs his own company, very successful. So we worked with him, so we're now working on, with the Ministry of Education, with some grants from US and some from British Council on making education more accessible. So that's the other part. So in this sector, without boring you, so we're doing some of these work in a number of different sectors. So one of the things that we learned since 2015, this Nepal has a new constitution. It's not that easy to work with the federal government. It is not easy to work with Nepal's provincial government, but it is very rewarding to work with the local government. The reason is mayor is elected for 5 years directly. So he's not going anywhere, he or she. They're going to be there for 5 years. But when someone becomes a minister, they don't know if they're going to be minister next hour in the federal and provincial government. But mayor has the power. They have fun, they have grants, and they are young. They want to make a difference because that's the beginning of their political career. Yeah. So if you have any intention to do anything in Nepal, please reach out to the local government. So we're working with lots of these local governments on their capacity building. So we're working on their capacity building on tourism, agriculture, agro-tourism, etc. So we work with private sector and public sector. So one of the very rewarding things, and if my phone there, just right now, so I'll just give you an example. This photo is not very clear, that's okay. So I was in Nepal from February to May this year, and the reason was I had some work. So we have an office in Patan, we have about 14 people working, and we also got lucky because I knew one guy here, young student who came for undergrad to US in DC. He did MBA from Minnesota, and after working 2 years in DC, he came one day to visit me and he said, Suman, I think I'm going to go move back to Nepal. I said, why? He said, because I'm the only child, and if I'm here, I'm going to be always worried about my parents. So I'll go back. I said, what are you going to do? He said, I'm going to look for a job. So I said, how much you want to make? He said, this much. I'll give you, add extra money, this much, and you come and work for me. And we opened the office in Pulchok, in Patan. And it's doing wonderful. We have 14 full-time employees right now working there. And we have a satellite office, one in Viratnagar and one in Bhutto, and because of our projects. And just recently when I was there, then the US Embassy gave me one task. We work with Deloitte. So Deloitte has a big project in Nepal called Trade and Competitiveness. So make Nepal's trade more competitive in international market. Right? So for that we have to build the local capacity. So we work with, since 2016 we are working with all the commercial banks in Nepal, building improving their credit, creating new products for the banks, and improving their capacity for different departments. So we work with all the commercial banks. So we approached commercial banks and we said, let's do assessment. So we looked at how kind of loan they have. So think about a farmer. Farmer wants to do coffee. So coffee is the best example. Nepal's coffee is ranked in top 10 in the world. But Nepal doesn't even produce enough coffee for Nepal only. They can't produce enough because they have land, but we need lots more than that. Farmer needs a guarantee that they can survive 4 years and they can start planting coffee, right? So right now, Department of Agriculture is doing some assessment right now, and hopefully they will get some grant for these farmers. So I approached the banks, and the US government's interest was focus on agriculture and tourism. So we had a series of meetings with the bank. I said, we need to create a product just like India did. What India did for small, so from micro entrepreneurs, MSME. So micro, they wanted to graduate all the micro to small side of the entrepreneurs. What did they do? They said, you can ask for the loan, we'll give you a loan, no collateral, up to certain amount. And the India government took that risk, right? So what happened, these people took a loan. Yeah, 70% were successful, 30% were not. But that 70% success rate increased the revenue of Indian governments. Right? So we took the same model, and Nepal government, so just now NMB Bank, just last week, they announced they're the first bank in Nepal who are giving up to 2 lakh, about $1,650 for farmers, no collateral needed. That's a good beginning. At least one bank started. We have 6 banks have signed a contract under this program. So first one has just come through. So we're doing this kind of program, and it makes me feel good because what I learned here, I'm able to take that to Nepal and do it. And the last but not least is like I can go through long list and we can talk that later. But some of the things that I wanted to mention here. The other one we're just going to start working with World Bank. We just got this grant and approval on plastic waste solution. So you can imagine how much plastic waste solution is in this urban areas in Nepal. So we're going to come. We're just going to help them create a policy and what they're going to do. Recently, we drafted a policy after 2 years of work from EU funded. It's called Technical and Vocational Education. It's a 10 years policy, 23 to 32. TVET, they've got Technical and Vocational Education Training Strategic Plan. They just got approved by the Planning Commission, and now Ministry has to implement it. And one of the coolest recommendation in there is start technical education since 8th grade. We have to negotiate with Ministry. They didn't have a capacity. So the technical education, just like here, when my kids were in high school, or your kids are in high school, they have to take one technical class, right? So I know my son took auto repair, so he started changing oil in our house. So one of the car he missed it up because he didn't know what it was. So I won't get into that. And my daughter took some computer class. So technical, they have to take in order to graduate, right? So we are doing this. So now from new academic year, many of these municipalities, because school system from K to 12 in Nepal is decentralized. Now the municipality has say. Only thing centralized in K to 12 education is the textbook, because Nepal, because the capacity, government doesn't have enough capacity. Not every state can publish the textbook. And holding an exam will be a federal job. Running a school will be the municipalities. So some of the municipalities already adopted. From 8th grade, students will have to take technical. Whether it's a plumbing courses, electrician courses, whatever they can provide in that geographical area. So that is the coolest thing that I wanted to share here. And other one we started, the first year we're doing it. It's an internship program. So we have right now, from this fall, already kids have reached. We got 4 students from Georgetown. They are doing internship for the whole semester in Nepal. And we have 2 students going from Rochester University. They haven't reached, they're going to reach there right after the long weekend. So 6. So if your kids want to do an internship in Nepal, you can just call me and we are open to it. And this is official with Georgetown and Rochester University. So right now we're working with a number of universities: Virginia Tech, George Mason, Michigan State, Arizona State, Notre Dame, Rochester University, and Worcester Polytechnic in Boston. So one other thing, Virginia Tech, which is the closest one, I'll tell you, Virginia Tech is working with us, is we are going to be establishing Center of Excellence for Climate Change in Nepal in partnership with Virginia Tech. So that is the Virginia Tech. And Michigan State University, those you are from Michigan University. So Michigan State University's Public Health Department is working with us, and I'm not going to put you out of the retirement, but they are establishing. So this year from October, we're going to start a regional training center for health leadership in Nepal, and Nepal will be the regional center where India, Pakistan, they all will be sending for each cohort. They will be sending, their government is committed sending 5 health officials to Nepal to training. So think of Nepal. Don't think of Nepal just in Nepal's context. I've learned it over the years. Think of the regional. Why? Pakistani people can't travel to India. They will not get a visa. Vice versa, Indians can't travel to Pakistan. Nepal, everyone can travel. So Nepal has to be a regional center. We have to give that narrative. Right? So George Mason University, which is in our neighborhood, we have been trying. It was going to happen right before the pandemic. The pandemic hit. After pandemic, Kathmandu University Vice Chancellor changed. Here the president changed and we had to restart. So now we're going to be starting 2 programs with George Mason University in Nepal. One, we're going to be calling it 1:1. So 1 year MBA they will study in Kathmandu, and 1 year they will study here. So the cost will be lower, and they earn an MBA from both places, and plus they get a career service from George Mason University. And George Mason Business School is not bad, it's in top 100, so this is really good exposure for them. And they will not have to pay the international fee, they will be paying the institution fee. We negotiated the fee, so the fee is lower for them. And we are also negotiating one program with George Mason and National Science Foundation and Kathmandu University right now, and we don't know where it's going to go, so I'm not going to bring it here. So these are some of the programs, and the last one, which was the coolest one, I will just share that one. So when we did a tourism program, for fundraising we invited Sur Sudha here. So Sur Sudha came and did a 6 cities tour, and we raised the money. So we worked with Sur Sudha. So we took, my daughter was playing in high school, she played in swimming instruments in 3rd grade, college, and so I said, look at this band, and she went to El Salvador for this band tour in high school. We paid, I think, $3,500 for 1 week, and they had to do volunteer work for 3 days in some camp in El Salvador, and the rest they played band. So I came up, I copied a similar concept, and we came up with a different program. I said, how about the band, whole high school band goes to Nepal. And Sur Sudha works with Nepali students, and they prepare similar music with Nepali instrument, working with a music director here, and do this. And we perform them in Patan Square and Bhaktapur Square, just 2 events, and we organized it. 175 kids traveled from here for 10 days, and they did it. So we are planning to make that a permanent, but lots of work and too much work. So we hope this is going to be, we're going to make it more sustainable. And the other one was, just think about those kids. When they went, they shook hands with the president of Nepal. Actually hosted them. When they come and write that story in their college application, no college will reject them. Trust me on that. So I'm really excited. I get really excited talking about this program, and hopefully we will start a cool program for 2024. There will be more high school will be joining us. We try to work with Fairfax County, which is one of the largest schools, and we are still working with them, but their compliance policies are so strong that it takes them almost 2 years to approve this kind of program through their compliance body. They want to make sure they have to travel to Nepal to make sure those students where they stay, hotel and all, they are in good condition. So it's a big process of working with them. If Fairfax gets, we have 34 high schools. So think about it, even if you get 10%, that's 3 high schools. That's a good money they're going to spend in Nepal. No band has less than 150 children. So 152 is going at once. So we're coming up with these kind of programs. Stay tuned, and thank you very much.